Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's On at disneyplus.com with our weekly Q&A with questions that have been submitted in advance by our Patreon and YouTube channel members. So we've got lots of different questions to be jumping into. Now this week, unfortunately, is not live due to a last-minute change, which has meant that I'm traveling today covering something for What's on Disney Plus. So you're going to see some content coming up coming week with something that I'm doing today. So I just wasn't going to be able to do a live stream because, I'm going to be on a train. So let's jump into some of the questions first off. So we've got quite a few different ones. So let's start off with one from Khaled, where he said, with Iger reportedly restructuring spending on streaming, how will this affect Disney Plus? Also, with Disney fully owning Bamtech, are there any plans to consolidate Now Digital from Disney India? And then he carries on to eventually streamline Hotstar into one whole app. Now, at the minute, we don't really know what's going on with all this. The main thing really with this whole thing with Bamtech, because they spent about $900 million earlier last month to buy out the 10% stake from the Major League Baseball. Now, this is a deal that was in place for years. Gradually, Disney has been picking up ownership of it. That's why Bamtech eventually was rebranded into Disney Streaming. And they obviously build out like Disney Plus, Star Plus, ESPN Plus. They also work on Hulu. They've previously worked on a number of other streaming services like HBO Max and WWE Network and the Major League Baseball. So they've worked on a number of different things. But now means that Disney have got full control of the company and it's now theirs. It's just part of Disney. And it now means they don't have to kind of go to the MBLA and kind of talk to them and all this kind of stuff. So now it's there. Doesn't probably really going to mean anything because Disney's been in full control for it for a while. But now just means that they can they don't have to negotiate with other companies. They've just got full control over it. So we're probably not going to see too much of a difference. Now, whether or not we will see them then taking up I think the whole thing with what's going on with Hotstar is Novi was actually owned by Fox. And so when Fox got purchased by Disney, they were acquired it. It was just technically just a different name. So I think they've, in some of the countries, I think in the Philippines, it just says like the Walt Disney Company East Asia or something like that. So basically, it now looks like it's Disney. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't think it looked very good when you went to download Disney Plus Hotstar and it said it was from another company, because a lot of people probably were like, was that the right app? It doesn't say Disney. So I think that's probably best that they've done that anyway. I think we are going to see a consolidation of apps and over the coming years as they just try and cut down costs and try and get things under control a little bit more. And I do think we are going to see a little bit more of that. As far, we are seeing a new version of the Hotstar app. It got launched in Africa. It's also been rolled out across the Middle East, and it's starting to be used now as well in some countries in Southeast Asia. I suspect eventually, I know there were some things, they'll do it then for the Hotstar in India, but it's all that kind of thing. They're slowly consolidating. I don't know if we're ever going to get to a point where there's one Disney Plus app for the world. It looks like they're doing something a little bit different with that one. I think the main reason for that is the way of logging in some of those countries. We use an email address or they use a telephone number. So that's kind of why it is. And it might also be to do with like just separating the apps out so it's not all on one. So there's lots of different ways of doing it. But yeah, I would expect them to be some consolidation in kind of to come up with that one because of just how that one all works. Moving on from there, Elliot asks, do you think Disney Plus in the United States will get a major change in terms of getting more content once things are worked out with the ad tier and when the Hulu transfer happens? 100%. I feel like we're definitely at a point where the problem is with Hulu is that it could take another 18 months or 2 years to sort. So they are going to be putting things onto Disney Plus in the US. I think with the ad tier in, it's going to incentivize them to do it. But until they get this Hulu sorted, they're going to have some problems because they can't start just moving stuff over because then they'll be devaluing Hulu. So there's a problem with that. I do think that once the ad tier comes in, they're going to slowly start putting things in. But we've seen this last year. They've mentioned general entertainment. We've really not got a huge amount in the United States. So I'm very wary now of the idea of like when it's going to happen because, well, we've basically been promised it for a whole year and we've barely had more than like a dozen titles. But I think more will happen. But that's not going to be trying to sort out what's going on with Hulu. But I do think the ad tier is going to make things a little bit easier. Daniel said, I've used Star on Disney Plus at work despite living in the US in Texas. And it's amazing. Why do people say it's so hard? I find such shows so easily. Now, one of the things I'm going to bring up here, why it can be a little bit tricky with Disney Plus here in the UK and around the world, is obviously we have the Star tab. And one of the reasons why we say it's a little bit complicated is because there's there's so much in there. Now, if you know what you're looking for, you can use the search tab. The problem is when you're just browsing. When you're just browsing, the star tab, if I just click here, for example, it'll bring up all the featured stuff and the recently added and some of the top titles that are in each division kind of thing. But because there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of movies, there's a lot of stuff that just gets completely missed from here, and it can be a little bit difficult sometimes. I think it's more so if you're just scrolling through trying to look for something. It kind of can be a little bit jumbled because there is probably 1,000 to 2,000 things inside the Star Hub, and in like Star Wars is like 24. So there's just so much in there. So if you know what you're looking for, you can find it really easy. But if you're just browsing, things get lost. I mean, there'll be hundreds of movies that just will not turn up on that homepage. See here, if you just start going into they don't even have an A to Z because there's that many of them. So if I just take, for example, let's just take Westerns, for example. There's not a huge amount on there, but some of these ones will not turn up on the homepage because there's just too many of them. Let's try, for example, science fiction. Some of these movies will never appear on the homepage just because of how much stuff's on there. So it can be just quite difficult, and there's a lot of scrolling through and just trying to find things can be very tricky, and you might not necessarily be what you're looking for. It can just be a little bit cluttered. So I think we just want more collections, more hubs, just to kind of, because it's just so much in it. Matt asks, do you think they'll add more general entertainment Disney Plus in the US in 2023? Yes, I think they're going to be adding stuff throughout the year. They are slowly putting things on there. You are seeing more things being put on there every month, just maybe not at the speed that we would have liked them to. It's a lot slower. It'll be interesting to see what happens moving forward. Daniel says, will Disney fully owning Bamtech affect Disney Plus in the US at all, or will it be potentially changed, not noticeable to subscribers? To be honest, it'll be completely unknown. You won't even know the difference. Because they already own 90% of the company. It now just means that they've got full control. So we won't really notice any difference at all in terms of being a consumer. Matt says, what changes do you think they're going to make to Disney Plus in 2023? So obviously, I think the international rollout of the ad tier is going to be it. There'll be some more rollouts of some other countries. I just think we're going to see probably, I think in terms of changes, I don't know if we'll see too much changes to the actual app. I hope they can start. I think they might not be maybe spending as much on development and stuff with cost cutting. So just keeping what's running. I think we are going to see less stuff being added, like original content, because I think they're going to start slowing that down. I also think as well, what's happening in the US or internationally, we're seeing lots of titles being removed because essentially budget cuts. Anything that's not being watched is being removed, and I think we definitely seem to be seeing a lot of this internationally now. Where there's my only one change would be I would like them to add a little leaving soon section, especially internationally, so we know what's leaving. If it's going to be a regular thing with things moving every month, they need to put it in, especially with licensed content. But I'm not expecting a huge amount of changes in 2023 in terms of the app itself. I think we're just going to be about getting it more profitable. Connor says, reports are circulating that Comcast and Disney are coming together in the new year to seal Hulu's fates. What are your thoughts on this? Could Hulu even be sold to Comcast or broke up? It wouldn't be at all surprise if Hulu was I think it's going to go either one or two ways. Either Comcast are going to take it on because they want the Hulu Live TV bundle, and they can then merge it with Peacock and have a much better streaming service for them. That would get Disney out of spending, maybe 9 to 10 billion on Hulu that they maybe don't fully need. So that's one option. The other option is they keep Hulu and they spend out on it, and then they merge the two together. But Hulu Live TV maybe stays separate as its own separate thing. I wouldn't be at all surprised if Hulu becomes Hulu Live TV, and Hulu basically becomes like a fast service where it's basically free for everyone, and they put limited stuff on there and they do things like that. So there's definitely lots of different options and stuff available. Daniel says, to help facilitate the ability to stream the first 4 Indiana Jones films on Indiana Jones, could Disney give Paramount something in return, such as the international rights to shows like Criminal Minds or NCIS, or possibly sharing stream rights to Dial of Destiny? I don't think they're going to want to share the Dial of Destiny. I don't think they'd want to do that one. I wouldn't be at all surprised if they do a deal where they just pay. It'd probably just be easier for them to pay Paramount to have access, like a non-exclusive access to those shows. I wouldn't be at all surprised if that happens next year. Some kind of deal gets done for them, non-exclusive. I mean, they could swap. They could swap content. They could definitely do that. And it depends on whether or not who feels it's best. But they could do that. I mean, it's been known in the past that they've swapped stuff. They have done that, but I think it's probably more likely they'll just maybe Paramount will just get a bit of extra money and have access as well. And Matt says, "What other Lucasfilm films could they add to Disney Plus?" Well, I don't know. I don't know actually. I was just thinking then of like what films have they got? Lucasfilm. Yeah, it's like if we look here and see, like, I just want to see what movies they might, because the majority of them, in all honesty, are Star Wars. You know, they've not made, I don't think, a huge amount of them. Let's see what here. So we've got here, so we got all the Star Wars ones. We got Indiana Jones is a bit tricky. A lot of it as well is obviously before they got purchased by Disney, is they had this different distribution rights. Because looking here, things like American Graffiti are distributed by Universal Pictures. Willow was MGM, so they obviously managed to get that one back. Labyrinth was TriStar Pictures, so I mean they might end up licensing it. You've got here, like, obviously the Raiders of the Lost Ark are Paramount, so there's a lot of different ones. They're a little bit more messy in terms of how that they've all been released. So I don't know if I don't think they're ever really going to be able to have all of them under one roof, because trying to get hold of them lot's going to be very, very tricky. I mean, I'm just looking here at some of the see. The only ones we've really got so far are all like the Fox own ones. So no, it's going to be tricky, I think, for them to get hold of all these things. I mean, even things like The Land Before Time, you know, that was a Universal Pictures one. So I didn't realize they did that one, actually. And like Howard the Duck and stuff. So it's going to be very tricky for them to get hold of all these. But hopefully they can sort things and stuff like this out. I don't even know. Is Howard on there? I don't know if Howard is on there. Howard, yeah, Howard the Duck isn't on there. So no, there's lots of movies they could add, but it's going to be the case really of whether or not they can actually do it. Right, so there we go. That is all the questions that have been sent in advance. Again, thank you so much to all of my Patreon and YouTube channel members. It means a lot, and honestly, it does mean so much of your continued support. It means a massive amount. I'll be back next week. The plan is to be live. This would have been a live episode, but like I said, we had a very last minute change of schedule, and I'll tell you all about what I've been doing next week. But thank you so much again, and I shall see you guys soon. Laters. Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.